We sitting?
In case I don't catch you later. So sometimes when I start, what goes over time, like the news, everybody. Citizen We Walk.
Let's do it.
Your gateway.
I'll set it up.
All right, good.
I will do it.
Thank you.
I'll bring you.
Your seat is on this side. We have
We've had so many names already, but then
Let's get it. Okay. Is this the round? The round?
Congressman Sears.
Yes.
I want to let you know that we'll have each speaker introduce the speaker coming after them, so you are right before a majority leader.
I sit there and the governor. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Is this mine or the?
You're governor's.
Yeah.
Mike. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Ready, Gov? Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jerry Zarrow. I'm the chairman of the Gateway Development Corporation. We are very pleased to welcome here today Governor Phil Murphy, members of our congressional delegation. We have here today Congressman Frank Pallone. I saw him before. Right here, Congressman Bill Pascrell, Congressman Tom Malinowski, Congressman Albio Sires, Congressman Josh Gottheimer, and Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill. We are also very pleased to welcome our legislative leadership here in New Jersey, who have been absolutely steadfast in their support of the Gateway project. Senate President Steve Sweeney, Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin, I think, is here or cannot make it, but we thank him nonetheless. He's been terrific, and Senator Loretta Weinberg. We're here today to talk about the Portal North Bridge. It's a 110-year-old swing bridge over which every train from Washington to Boston must cross. It carries 800,000 passenger trips every day. Trains must slow down to cross. Our modern high-speed trains, which go 90 miles an hour and up, must slow down to 60 miles an hour to cross this ancient bridge. Not only does this slow down the commute, but it impedes our ability to increase capacity. The bridge, which opens to allow maritime traffic to pass beneath it, and sometimes closes, very often it doesn't, and we literally have a fellow with a sledgehammer come out and knock the rail into alignment. This single point of failure chokes off the entire train line, causing delays measured in hours. We've had 85 delay days over the past 4 years, and that is simply unacceptable in the United States of America in 2019. And so we at Gateway are doing everything we possibly can to build a system our passengers, our region, and our nation can rely upon, but we cannot do it alone. We need a full-fledged partner in the federal government. And while the federal government has delayed action on our application, we are all the more pleased to have a full-fledged partner here in the state of New Jersey. Under the leadership of Governor Phil Murphy, New Jersey has committed 100% of the necessary local share to build the Portal North Bridge. And so, with great gratitude, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce the Governor of the state of New Jersey, Phil Murphy.
Thank you, Terry. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Get my glasses undone here. Before I begin this morning, I want to go very quickly off topic and address the announcement from State Treasurer Liz Moya's office earlier this morning that the state gas tax would remain unchanged for the upcoming year. This decision, made by the Treasurer in consultation with the Office of Legislative Services and based on the law as it is written, is good on many levels. It's good certainly for residents who won't be asked to shell out a few extra cents per gallon at the pump, but moreover, it's a good sign of fiscal stability. It shows that our administration's policy of budgeting based on real numbers and realistic expectations works. Our gas tax helps finance the Transportation Trust Fund and critical road improvements throughout our state. And since our administration took office, the TTF has provided more than $2.7 billion to local, county, and state transportation projects, including, I might add, NJ Transit. It helps put people to work as it enhances our communities and makes travel and commuting smoother and easier. Strong, modern, and safe infrastructure is at the heart of our economic vision, and I'm grateful that we'll be able to build on this vision over the coming year without an increase in the gas tax. And that is as good a point as any to transition to another way we can build strong, modern, and safe infrastructure and make commuting for our residents smoother and easier. Again, thank you, Jerry Zero, Mr. Chairman, for kicking things off for us and for your continued work at the Gateway Program Development Corporation, making the case for the nation's largest and most important infrastructure project. And thank you for everything you do, Jerry. I'm honored, as I always am, to be here with members of our federal delegation who understand, as we all do, the tremendous necessity for the Trump administration to finally and at long last step up and partner with us to create the safe, modern, and reliable infrastructure that our commuters and our economy need. And to each member of the federal delegation, thank you again for being with us and for everything you do. I'm also honored and reiterate Jerry's welcome to Senate President Steve Sweeney and Senate Majority Leader Loretta Weinberg, as well as some of our elected officials from Hudson County. Mayor Ganelli from Secaucus is here. Mayor Turner from Weehawken is here, I know at a minimum, and also our brothers and sisters in labor with whom we go to work every day, and as well as NJ Transit CEO Kevin Corbett and his outstanding team, as well as representatives from Amtrak. Just 1 mile away is the Portal Bridge, which, as Jerry said, first opened to rail traffic on November 27, 1910. Let me put that in perspective. William Howard Taft was in the White House. Woodrow Wilson was governor-elect. The New York Highlanders were still 3 years away from changing their name to the New York Yankees. It has more than outlived its expectancy. Many of us stood together almost a year ago exactly, and we didn't come carrying a cake with 108 candles on it. So today we're back with a message as clear and a resolve as strong as it was then. New Jersey is ready to get started on America's next great infrastructure project. But we can't do that until the Trump administration stops its delays, removes its artificial roadblocks, and lets us get to work on finally replacing the Portal Bridge. We can get to work replacing this bulky old bridge the moment the Trump administration steps up with the green light to do so. It's shovel-ready, fully designed, and permitted. We've put our skin in the game with a more than a fair share of funding. Our administration has asked the Federal Transit Administration to allow us to begin work. But all we've gotten in return is radio silence. This bridge has had a relatively quiet year, knock on wood, but every time it opens, as Jerry said, we have to hold our collective breath that it'll make it all the way closed. And that's no way to run a modern state or a modern country. We all know it is simply a matter of time before the Northeast Corridor grinds to a halt because a cranky Portal Bridge got stuck open again. We have to act now. Commuters have pushed for this. Elected officials and community leaders up and down our impacted rail lines and beyond have pushed for this. Business and labor leaders have spoken about the importance of getting this project started to protect and strengthen our economy and to create and support good jobs. Every day the Portal Bridge replacement is delayed. It costs an estimated $150,000, and it costs the roughly 200,000 travelers who rely on it functioning and all of us untold stress just hoping that its rusty components can hold for one more train and one more day. So President Trump and Secretary Chow, with enormous respect, I ask that we get to work. Let us start the Portal Bridge replacement today. Let us begin to give our people the modern, safe, and reliable infrastructure that a 21st century economy demands. With that, it's now my great honor to invite the Dean of the Democratic Congressional Delegation to say a few words, Congressman and Chairman Frank Pallone. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Governor. I just want to thank the Governor because from day one when he took office, he has prioritized Gateway. He met with us as a delegation, with our House and Senate delegation, and said that. He's taken us on tours to look at the Portal Bridge, to look at the tunnel. He's done everything possible to bring us together in support of this project. And I really just wanted to speak on behalf of my colleagues in the House, but I could also speak for our two senators as well. Everyone here has actually made a commitment to this in a united way as a delegation. I'm looking at Mikey Sherrill and Tom Malinowski and Josh Gottheimer and Albio and Bill Pascrell. Every one of them has either introduced legislation or provided funding or sent letters as a delegation. So my real message to everyone here today is that this House delegation, as well as our two senators, are united with the governor and our legislative leadership with Senator Sweeney and Senator Weinberg in saying that we are ready. We don't really understand, frankly, why President Trump is not pushing forward with this. You know, the Portal Bridge, everything's done. There's a new proposal for the Gateway Tunnel that Jerry and others have put forth that actually saves money. So it's still very confusing to us why we can't get the president to go along. But we're basically saying, Mr. President, we're here. We've done everything we have to do in terms of the regulatory process and providing the funding on a state level. We just want to see the shovel in the ground, and hopefully that day comes very soon. So let me now introduce Steve Sweeney, our Senate President. I was telling Steve that I used to be in the state Senate, and I'm always amazed at how he's able to get people together to accomplish things and the leadership that he's shown. And I remember when I was there and it wasn't easy. So thanks for all you do. Come on up, Steve.
And I am thrilled to be here, and I want to recognize to start off with that this administration, Governor Murphy in the state of New Jersey, has stepped up to do the right thing for this Portal Bridge. You know, normally when you're looking at construction, it's always a challenge because one side doesn't want to fund, and it's normally the state. Well, this is the opposite of how things normally happen. You know, we worked very hard to get the Gateway legislation done, thanks to Senator Weinberg and her colleagues in New York, and that was no easy task. It was a kind of a rugby match until we got to a bill where it all worked out so we could accept funds. We're in position to move forward, and all it takes now is our president to recognize, unlike a lot of places, New Jersey saying we're going to put our share up. In fact, I put my marker down. It's time to go forward. It's too important to the economy of this country to let this bridge fail. And just so you know, I know a little bit about bridges, being an iron worker. I think we got our money's worth out of this bridge. You know, I think Congressman Pascrell said the Philadelphia Athletics won the World Series back then too, Governor. So, but again, there's a lot of speakers here, but I think it shows the force and the will of the people of New Jersey, the legislature, and our congressional delegation to speak up and loud and let the federal government say enough's enough. You know, we're putting ours up. You're not twisting our arms. We volunteered. So I want to thank Governor Murphy for his leadership with doing that, and everyone that's here today to express their support. And since they said Frank Pallone is the dean, that doesn't mean you're the old guy. You know that. The dean's our senior guy. I get to introduce our lion of the delegation, our lion, our liberal lion, Congressman Pascrell, Bill Pascrell.
my fellow Americans. Okay. By the way, Governor, you were mentioning all the things that happened way back when the Portal Bridge was online. You forgot to mention one thing. That's the year that the Philadelphia Athletics, Steve, won the World Series. Did they ever win it again afterwards? I have no idea. So it's long past the time to get this done, because the entire East Coast is going to be affected. Mr. Governor, thank you for bringing us all together. I'm happy to be here. You may say, well, how come you're here again? All of us. Jerry Zarrow has a better answer than I do. But this is a tough fight. There's no question about it. The budget of the administration this year wants to slash $250 billion from the infrastructure programs. Not even getting into the 5-year plan that we need, which every administration, whether it was Republican or Democrat, has had leading up to this administration. So we got to reduce the anxiety, and there's a lot of anxiety now about what could possibly happen if this is not done. And one does not have to simply refer to a tunnel being flooded during Sandy. That may be dramatic to some, but it's real. This Portal Bridge is a key factor in doing what needs to be done for the economy of the East Coast. It's not just a Jersey thing or a New York thing. This is the entire region. The DOT lowered the priority rating for the Gateway project. And that's disgraceful. They went back on an agreement of a 50-50 cost sharing between the federal government and the state has worked like hell to make this a reality as well. And I think that this is important and critical. Every dollar is going to count in this. I commit to the governor, to Senator Sweeney, that the congressional delegation will be united. I know Chris is not here today. Chris Smith, he's with us 100%. I know Don Payne, who serves on the Transportation Committee with my brother Albio, committed to this, not just in verse, but we want to get this done. This is important for the economy of our region, and we cannot play games with this for fear of what could happen in a catastrophic way. We want to examine this litany of things that are hanging out there on the vine. So thank you for all coming today. Loretta, thank you. You're always there when it's going to help the entire state. And I want to introduce my brother from the Congress of the United States, a person who's on the Transportation Committee, and he knows better than I do what's been threatened in the transportation budget, but what we need to do in being hopeful about what will happen. We need to all be hopeful. We don't need bad news anymore. We need to be hopeful and get it done. Let's have a great hand for our brother, Albiol Ceres, our congressman.
Bill is always very nice. Well, first of all, welcome, and welcome to this great center here, the Frank Lautenberg Center. It is important that we have this here because Frank meant so much to transportation in New Jersey and to this country. Governor, thank you for calling this press conference. We have to keep the pressure on. We have to keep informing people how important this is. President Sweeney, thank you. Always a good friend. Thank you. Welcome to the Frank Lautenberg Station. And obviously our chairperson, Frank Pallone, and my colleagues who are here today. We have 11 out of the 12 congresspeople, and they are all very supportive not only of this project, but also of the Gateway Tunnel. And of course, welcome to our Majority Leader in the Senate, who I serve with in the Assembly, and she is real strong on transportation for New Jersey. You know, we were here a year ago on this Portal Bridge, and here we are now. It moves about 450 trains each day between Newark and New York. It is over 100 years old. Somebody said 110, give and take 10 years. But you know, the real problem is that sometimes this bridge doesn't lock when you open it, and you have to use a sledgehammer to line it up. Can you imagine a bridge that carries over 450 trains a day that you have to use a sledgehammer to line it up? That is embarrassing not only to New Jersey, it is embarrassing to this country. If this bridge, and it was an emergency, and we have to shut it down for repairs, you will have to find another way for 150,000 commuters to go to New York. Can you imagine the impact, the economic impact that this would have? We have done in New Jersey our part. We have streamlined this. We are saving from the original budget money. We are putting in $600 million to do this. This is important not only for this, but for the entire Northeast. And I will remind everybody that in the Northeast, we are a sending state. We send money to Washington. We're not like some of these other states, like my colleague calls them a mooching state from other parts of the country that take the money and don't do much to help us out. But look, this is very, very important to New Jersey and to the region. And I just want to move forward with it and hope that they take the politics out of it. There's a lot of politics here, unfortunately. But I hope it doesn't take an emergency for people in Washington to come to their senses and move forward on this project, because it will be very devastating to the region. I thank you, Governor, for calling this press conference, and I thank my colleagues for being here. And my job is to introduce someone who I love very much, who I serve with in the Assembly, and that's Majority Leader Weinberg, who has been a strong supporter of transportation in New Jersey.
Hi. Thank you very much. Thank you to the governor, to my Senate president, to our congressional representatives, and to my former Teaneck resident, Jerry Zarrow. First of all, when the governor was giving the history of the Portal Bridge, I said to some of my colleagues, I was not yet in the Senate. At which point Congressman Malinowski asked me if I was in the Assembly at the time. And the answer is no. But just to point up how old that bridge is, I'm still standing, but it's barely standing. And that's what we are gathered here today to bring home the message of how important this is, not only to New Jersey, but the entire eastern region of the United States. And as the prime sponsor of what I hope, with the help of the governor, will be a new, better, and bigger Gateway Corporation, which was passed with the help, and I must mention her, my colleague in the New York legislature, Assemblywoman Amy Paulin, who was a great partner in moving this legislation ahead. We got it through 4 houses of the legislature, signed by 2 different governors, really in speedy time, And it was one of the requisites that the federal government gave us in order to be able to move ahead to apply for funding. So we got that done. I think we did it in a great and equal rights way. And I am delighted to hear about the pledge of money that's coming from New Jersey with a very important asterisk. It will not be paid for on the backs of New Jersey commuters. So thank you all for your work here. Thank you for the work we all have to do. And with that, it is my honor to introduce the next congressman. I always kid him. He and I keep the height level a little bit more equal when we deal with these guys. But I can leave the stool here for you, Josh, if you so wish. So although Bill Pascrell represents the district I live in Teaneck, Josh represents the rest of the great community in which I live, Teaneck. Congressman Josh Gottheimer.
This thing's great.
Yeah.
Don't move that. I like
not
it.
moving it.
This thing is great. I love this. Can I bring this everywhere? This thing is phenomenal. The air is cleaner up here. This is terrific.
You want to carry that with you?
No, it's better. It's good. Thank you very much, Loretta. It's really an enormous honor to have you abutting my district, to be a leader in my district, to be a leader in the Senate with Senator Sweeney, and really do so well by our district and so well by the people and our incredible congressional delegation. Thank you so much for all you do for this important project. Jerry, you're an incredible leader, and of course, the governor is doing a remarkable job on this and so many things, so thank you very much, Governor, for having us today. And I want to thank Labor as well for all Labor does to make sure we build important projects like these. I think it's only fitting that there are storm clouds overhead today, because I think it's the appropriate metaphor for the pending doom New Jersey, our residents, our businesses, and the national economy are facing if we don't get the Portal Bridge and the Gateway project moving immediately. The reason we're here is because we're all frustrated by the lack of movement and what is hands down the most important infrastructure project in our country. Obviously in Jersey, we've got the 8th worst roads, and we're working on those, and we've been taking great steps to fix them. But where I represent, just a few miles from here, we've got some of the worst commutes in the country, and a lot of it runs through because of this bridge and because of obviously what we need to get fixed with the tunnels. We were there, the delegation, many of us in the tunnel a couple months ago, and we saw it crumbling before our eyes. And so the Portal Bridge is just one egregious example of how far our national infrastructure has gone and crumbled. You heard some of the stats. The bridge has caught on fire twice in the past 2 decades. And when it's not catching fire, it's often out of service. Out of every 7 times the bridge closes, it doesn't close properly. Someone, as Albio said, literally has to come through with a sledgehammer and bang it shut. A 2019 study also showed that between 2014 and 2018, the Portal Bridge and the North River tunnels contributed to 2,000 hours of delays to the commuters, to the over 200,000 commuters daily that use it. It's absurd and unacceptable. It will take 5 years to fix it. When 60 Minutes did their study, did that piece on it about 5 years ago, right? They showed the immediate need, and here we are 5 years later, still waiting. And if this bridge collapses, God forbid, or something has to shut it down long term, or the tunnel, something happens to it, we know it's a $100 million a day hit to our regional economy, right? That's unacceptable for all of us. And as was pointed out, the tunnel, I think, Bill, you pointed this out, or Congressman Pascrell, you did, that it's been downgraded from a high priority to a medium to low rating. How is this a medium to low rating, right? I think it's fair when you say it's a really absurd that the Portal Bridge, when it's ready to go, has been downgraded. We've put our investment in, right? New York and New Jersey, we're ready. We're now waiting for the federal government to now meet its end of the bargain and to step up and get it done. The environmental reviews are done. It's literally ready to go. We could start doing this, building this part of the project tomorrow. But for some reason, the politics and the bureaucracy continue to stand in the way. So I think it's fair, as you've heard, to say that we are all ready to sit down with anybody, anyone, to get this project across the finish line, to avoid the pending doomsday. and to do right by our state, to do right by our commuters, to right by our region and for our country. Here in the greatest country in the world, there's no reason we can't get this done and get it done immediately, and I want to thank all my colleagues for doing their part in making it happen. Thanks. And now I'm very proud to introduce a congressman who is not only a long-term friend, but someone who's on the Transportation Committee, who has been leading the effort since he's gotten into Congress, along with Mikey and others, and obviously building on what Albio and Don and others have been doing so long on the Transportation Committee from the great 7th District of New Jersey, Tom Malinowski. You don't need that.
If I use that, you'll think I'm Albio.
Now you know what it feels like.
Oh. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everybody. A lot of us ran for Congress last year, not just in New Jersey, but across the country, on the idea that America builds bridges, not walls. And I keep telling my friends in the Congress from other states that in New Jersey, that's not a metaphor. We mean it literally. This bridge and the tunnel that will follow is absolutely the lifeblood of our economy. It's not just the commuters who need it every single day. It is the economy of the state of New Jersey that rests on the decision that needs to be made. And, you know, I don't count my bridges before they're built, but I am increasingly confident that the Portal North project is going to happen soon. The governor has done his part, Senator Sweeney, Senator Weinberg, our legislature has done their part, Amtrak, New Jersey Transit have done their part. We are waiting for the Department of Transportation. I spoke to the head of the FTA just last week, and I heard for the very first time, no more excuses. They acknowledged that we had taken every single step that we need to take to get this thing off the ground. And I'll tell you, one of the things that has made a difference is that we have a new United States Congress. We have a House of Representatives that is not going to take no for an answer. We're not sitting around and waiting for President Trump to change his mind. We are legislating. We have provided the money to cover this first stage of this enormous project, the Portal Bridge stage. We passed my Transportation Funding Fairness Act earlier this year. We even passed an appropriations bill in the House of Representatives that says to the Secretary of Transportation, if you do not spend the money we have given you for projects like Portal, you do not get to hire any more political appointees at the Department of Transportation. So they are getting the message. This thing has to get done. I believe it will get done. The folks you see up here will not rest until it does. With that, it's my honor to introduce my wonderful freshman House colleague, Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill.
Well, I think you can see from the number of elected officials here, the members of Transit and Infrastructure, and our great union brothers, including Anthony Abrantes, who's done wonderful work in Morris County for us, how important and how critical this piece of infrastructure is to the residents of New Jersey. I've had residents describe their commute to me as death by 1,000 cuts. I've had residents say that because they now have to leave 2 trains earlier than they did a decade ago because they can't rely on the train getting them to the office on time. Our rail lines are essential to our economy here in New Jersey, the quality of life for our residents, and to the nation's economy. And the Portal Bridge is a choke point in that system. There is something wrong when in 2019, a guy with a hammer is responsible for keeping our rail network from coming to a halt. And what's frustrating to me and to my residents, to my husband who commutes every day, is that we have a plan here in New Jersey to fix this. We are ready to move forward on replacing the Portal Bridge, and we simply need the Department of Transportation to work with us. The entire New Jersey delegation takes this project incredibly seriously because we know that investing in the Portal Bridge is investing in America. Our tax dollars fund projects across this country, and it's time to see some money come back into this region so we can continue to be the engine of America's economic growth. Thank you.
Is that everybody? I believe that's everybody. I think our collective view is we're going to take on-topic questions from the press. Jerry can help me out, and anyone else here is welcome to come in and answer, and then I'll speak for myself. I'll do an off-topic gaggle after it. Elise. I'll let Jerry fill in on any details. At one level, we have nothing to announce today, but we are here to reiterate not only our solidarity, but we have done everything that's been asked of us and then some. And I can say that they're not with us today. Loretta referred to her colleague in the legislature in New York, but New York, from the governor, their federal delegation and state delegations are also completely locked down. Our financing, our submission, the permitting, this is shovel ready. And a project this big and this important, if nothing else, we're here to reiterate that. This is a game changer for our state and our region. Anything you want to add, Jerry?
Well, our application for the tunnel was submitted just a week ago, our revised, in which we were saving $1.4 billion from our prior submission. And our submission on the Portal North Bridge will be just about a month from now, our revised submission.
Sorry. Ryan. We were outdoors. Yeah, so you won't be surprised we don't see it that way, but Tom also mentioned something very important. What's changed since September 4th, I think is when we did it last year, as I recall, is Congress has changed. And there's no doubt that the pressure that's been applied from the Democratic-controlled House of Representatives has changed the entire relationship and discourse. Jerry, you could comment on anything new we can expect in the submission, but that's a big change from a year ago, and there's been real progress. Are we there yet? We are not there yet. So I have expressed this before. The two words that continue to define my view on this are frustration, but optimism at the same time. Anything you want to say on the submission?
You know, just on the point, we are not standing still. I think that's an important thing because of the support of the governor. Construction on some of the things that you don't see. You don't see the span, of course, yet, but we have 11, 12, 13 projects underway, preparatory projects, which because of the help from our congressional delegation, we have the funding to pay for.
Anything you want to comment on the submission?
Well, let me not preempt what we're going to be doing, but as time goes along, we can value engineer, find cost savings as we've done with the tunnel, and be more responsive. The number one point to answer your question is we now have a Gateway Development Corporation that's been approved in both states. Previously, we did not have an agency that could receive federal funds. We do now.
That's another big change. Hold on, we're going to have Kevin Corbett, who's the CEO of NJ Transit.
Thank you. Just to comment, Ryan and Elise, particularly vis-a-vis Portal, to Jerry's follow-up on Jerry's comment. New Jersey Transit is submitting. September 15th is the deadline. It'll be Friday the 13th, not ominous. We've worked very closely with the FTA, including Acting Director Williams and her staff, both in New York and in D.C. We've given them all, to pick up on Congressman Malinowski's comment, we have given them everything they need, and as of last week, they said they have everything that we need to prepare for our submission. So we are optimistic, but this kind of pressure, there's a lot of pressure in Washington competing for funds, and we have to keep the pressure on. But I cautiously share that optimism about our September submission, both on the technical and financial.
Michael.
So thanks, Mike. The number of New Jersey commuters is 200,000 every day, back and forth on that span. But remember that this Northeast corridor, which runs from Washington to Boston, has many more people that travel, and that is the number of train trips on the entire line. That's 800,000, not people, passenger trips.
Yes, Michael. It's approval and money. It's a total of about $1.6 billion, I think, Jerry? $1.6 billion?
About 1.8 with contingencies.
Charlie? That's in total. That's the total, including the amount we've
I
got in
expect
the
the bids to be significantly lower.
That includes what we've got. Charlie? You think? Charlie, there's a limit to what we'll do on this, okay? I think we have been, listen, the one guy's view, we are on the right side of history. The logic, well, it's more approval than money, but I continue to, frustrated, but I continue to be optimistic we will get there. Please. Come on, Tom.
So, I'll tell you, it's changed since I took office, which is not a long time. We've been in for about 8 months. When I first had a conversation with the Secretary of Transportation, I was getting nonstop excuses. And the official position of the department was that New Jersey's financial commitment was not there. That was BS, but this is what they were telling us. We had a hearing about a month ago in front of the T&I, Transportation Infrastructure Committee, with the head of the FTA. Very different message from her at that point. She said there were still a couple of things that New Jersey needed to do, technical things that needed to be approved. You can look up the record of that hearing. We have now done all of those things that they have said we needed to do. And in my conversations with them since then, they have essentially acknowledged that we have done the things that they have asked us to do. So that doesn't mean it's going to happen, because anything can happen, as you suggested, with this administration. But I don't, you know, there's no argument they have made thus far that could possibly justify denying this grant application. And also, just folks should know, we have appropriated the money. So this is not a matter of Congress approving the money. For the Portal Bridge stage, the money is essentially there.
Thank you. Let's do one more, we'll wrap it. Sir. I'll let the experts address the timing. The amount, I think Kevin mentioned, is I had it at 1.6, he said 1.8, but that includes contingencies. And I think the realistic number is in that 1.5, 1.6 range. I'll let you guys address the timing.
Coming from the contracting, the A&E community before this job, I expected to be a heck of a lot less. I'm looking at a few of my colleagues over there in the industry. But there's a formula that you apply, and I can offline go through that, of how they do a risk assessment with the FTA. I agree with the governor, it's a 1.5, 1.6, but depending on how you meet the different ratings at the FTA, rather than argue the case, We went with their risk numbers, so that put the total up, but we have the funding to cover that.
We couldn't get Michael across the Hudson River without giving him a chance to ask a question. So, Michael, we're good. So you and I have discussed this privately. You've also discussed your racking notion for the tunnel, and you basically do the L train idea for the tunnel. I have to defer to the experts. There's no question we need a new bridge. If at 109 years old, if we could do it cheaper and smarter, I'm all in. But the experts have concluded that this is the right way to go. I will ask you guys if you want to chime in with anything beyond that.
Just very briefly, the Navigable Waters Act, going back to the 1700s, obviously the FTA and FRA, who have cooperated even at the senior level on this project, as of yesterday. I think the Maritime Administration is the place to ask that question, but I don't think Congress is going to be changing that, and nor is the maritime industry.
So I just want to say this. I say this a lot. It does take a village. Charlie, we're going to succeed. I'm going to bet a buck that we're going to succeed. And just look at this lineup, the leadership at Gateway, NJ Transit, Labor, Amtrak, all of the other interested parties. But look, and Loretta referred to this, I have to give Steve and Loretta a huge shout out of what they were able to do along with their colleagues in the Assembly and across the river in short order. It does take a village, it turns out. I have to give a huge shout out to our congressional delegation. Whether you're on transportation or not, every single one of them gets up every morning fighting for this project in the greater Gateway family. And it is as well-oiled a campaign as anything I've been around. I continue to be frustrated. I continue to plead with the President and Secretary Chow to give us that go-ahead. And I believe not only our state, but our region and the country will look back and say it was a game changer. Thank you all so much for being with us. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming up. Kerry, I'll send you a note on the other two stuff. Albio, thank you. Thank you.